already started rolling out your feet with your ball. Let's get that going. Oh, and while you're doing that, I want you to notice the balancing leg that you are standing on. Check you're not hanging out in the hip. I want to stay tall. Find the rest of your posture. Can you stand tall through that posture? Noticing how your body's feeling today. So what areas of your body are calling for your attention? What areas feel nice and strong? And we will work through the body, easing things out. So you might need a pillow for today, depending on how your neck's feeling. You might want a Pilates ball, or you could use that pillow instead of the ball if you don't have a ball. A long resistance band and or some small hand weights, all optional, depending on how your body's feeling today. Once you have rolled out both feet, and spend as long as you need here. So if you do want to stay here just for a little bit longer, please do. But when you're ready to, we'll pick the ball up and we will take the ball into your hands. Consciously roll the shoulders back and down, and then start to roll the ball in around the hands, noticing how the joints feel, particularly around that thumb joint towards the wrist. Massaging the hands with the ball right up to the fingers. Can you bring awareness into your breath? And if you've been holding your breath, can you let that go? Start to pass the ball from one hand to the other, giving a squeeze. So we're trying to stimulate the grip muscles in our hands. And maybe squeeze and hold for a moment, and then switch to the other side. And notice when you're doing that hand squeeze that you're not squeezing the shoulder up. You want to keep the shoulders back and down as you do this. And again, check in with your breath. Notice how the rest of your body's standing. So if you started hanging out in a hip, can you bring your feet fairly even? Can we think about that height in the body, height, length through the spine, ear over the shoulder, over the hip, knee, ankle, chin slightly drawn in, ribs tucked in, pelvis in that neutral-ish position. Let's take the ball into one hand, anchor your elbow, take your hand onto your forearm, and let's stretch the skin round in one direction and circle at the wrist. Few circles one way, few circles the other. And then let's stretch the skin of the forearm the other way and go into those wrist circles. And then do the same thing on the other side. Anchor the elbow, hand onto the forearm, rotating round. And then stretch the forearm skin the other way and circle that round. And then from there, we're going to pop the ball down. I'm just going to change the view on this screen. And let's bring what are we doing next? We're going to do our limb flush next. I was skipping ahead of myself there. So let's go up to our left collarbone and move the tissue above and below the collarbone. Moving that around, noticing if you're puffy, tender, warm, cold, is there anything there? And then tapping on, and then doing the same thing on the other side. So move the tissue and tap on. Come to the neck where the jaw meets the skull and press in a few times at the back of the ear, just noticing if you're tight. And then start to pull the skin in a downwards direction. And tapping on. And then from there to the shoulder, around the head of the shoulder, into the crease, into your armpit, into the side of your chest. Oh, I seem to have lost somebody. I seem to have lost my mother. She's dropped out the call. Tapping on. And then do the same thing on the other side. Oh, there's a message coming through. Oops. And tapping on. Lost internet connection. Oops. How do I get back now? There, that's me back. Then to the abdomen. So if you've just eaten, you don't want to do this too deeply, but if you haven't eaten within the last hour, then go as deeply as is comfortable for you. So getting right into that upside down V and into the pelvic bowl, around the belly button, and then tapping on, and then hip bone to pubic bone into the groin. And tapping on, and then into the back of the knees. So when you go to the back of the knees, sit the hips back, keep the ribs tucked in to keep the spine nice and long so that we're not hunching over or sticking the tailbone out and putting pressure in the lower back. And then from there, standing up, we're going to go into your full body tapping. So start at one shoulder and gently tap down. Big deep breaths in and out. Coming underneath, all the way down to the hip. And then on the other side. And down to the hip, then coming down the front of the body, so starting at the chest. And again, as you're coming down towards the feet, sit the hips back, keep the ribs tucked in, onto the top of the feet, along the inner edge, up the inner thighs, down the outer legs. Up the back of the legs. Over your backside. Onto your back and anywhere you can reach on your back. And then bring your fingertips on to your neck. So lift your chin and tap up the sides of the neck. Coming in under the chin, along the teeth, making your way up your face. Steady, careful around the eyes. You do want to work around the eyes because we have lymph nodes all around the eyeballs. Up onto the temples, onto the forehead, up onto the skull. And down the back of the neck, onto the shoulders. And then let the arms come down, take a few breaths here, just noticing how things feel. We are going to go into our fascial twist. Let's take the right leg, cross it over the left, anchor your feet for your tripod points. Now, if the outer hip here is really tight and this is uncomfortable, then stay on the ball of the foot. We're going to take the right hand and we're going to wrap it round and under the armpit of the left. And the left hand is coming to the right shoulder. Squeeze yourself in. Engage your backside, draw the tummy muscles in, and then start to turn your body to the right. Turn your head to the left. Take your gaze as far round to the left as you can. Take your tongue into your left cheek. Find a tight spot and press the tongue in. Breathing in and out through the nose. Just try to wring the spine out. At the end of the next exhale, bring the head and torso back to the centre, then start to turn the torso to the left. Turn the head to the right. Take your gaze as far round to the right as you can. Take your tongue into your right cheek. Find a tight spot. Breath in, breathe in and out through the nose. The end of your next exhale, bring that back to the centre. Uncross the arms, uncross the legs. Give them a shake off before we do the other side. Then we're going to take the left foot over. Plant the tripod points. How your legs are crossed on this side might be slightly different. The angle, positioning of your foot depending on what's going on in the hip on this side. Taking your left hand to your right armpit, right hand to the left shoulder. Give yourself a squeeze. So engage in backside tummy muscles. We're going to turn the body to the right, turn the head to the left. Take your gaze as far round to the left, but this time we're going to take an inhale through the nose and out through the mouth. As you're breathing out, can you drop your shoulders down? Can you wring yourself out anymore? The end of the next exhale, bring the head and body back to the centre, turning the body to the left, turning the head to the right, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then at the end of the next exhale, bring yourself back to the centre, untangle the arms, untangle the legs, giving that release off. Let's bring our awareness down to our feet. So anchor your feet through the tripod points. Lift all the toes, spread the toes out wide, bring the toes down. Now, as you're doing that, I want you to lift up through the spine, drop the shoulders back and down, tall through the crown of the head without pulling the chin up. We're lifting the toes, spreading the toes, bringing them down. If your fingers are doing more of a stretch than your feet, shake the fingers off. And then can we bring the big toe down, anchor it into the floor, and then stretch the rest of the toes away. And then let that relax. Do that again, anchor the big toe, stretch the rest of the toes away. And then can we lift all the toes up, bring the tinky or even the pinky toe down, and then the toe next to it, toe next to it, toe next to it. So we've got 4 toes down, thumb toe up, and then can we tap that big toe up and down? And check you're not holding your breath. And give the toes a wiggle out. Lift up onto the ball of the foot, getting that nice stretch, and then circle around. A few circles in one direction, a few circles in the other. Then tucking the toes under, getting that stretch across the top of the foot. And then circle round and in the other direction. And then onto the other foot, come up onto the ball of the foot, getting that stretch. And then circle it round, a few circles each way. And then tucking the toes under, getting that stretch into the top of the foot. Oh, that feels nice. And circle that round. A few each way. And then bring the feet back to about hip width apart. And we're going to come to the pelvis. And keeping the lower back and the rib cage as still as you can, we're going to send the tailbone back and then tuck the tailbone under. Sending the tailbone back and tucking it under. Quite a small movement to start with, because we're trying to not involve the rest of the spine. Really trying to use pelvic floor muscles, the backside muscles, the lower abdominal muscles to create that small movement. And then let the pelvis settle in a neutralish position. We're going to keep the shoulders where they are, and then we're going to lift one heel to shorten the distance between the hip bone and the ribs, and then bring that down, and then do the same thing on the other side. So letting the hip lift and down and lift and down. and then let the heels settle. And then we're going to tuck the tailbone, and then we're going to shift out to one side. We're going to then take the tailbone back and then shift out to the other side and then forward. So we're trying to make like a hula hoop, but small movement. And again, trying to not involve the ribs and the rest of the spine. So keeping the movement as small as you can, keeping those tripod points on your feet anchored as you're coming round. And then we're going to change the direction. Small movement, make sure you're not holding your breath. And then bring the pelvis into a neutral position. Then from here, we're going to send the breastbone back and then send the breastbone forward. We're trying to not move the pelvis. So you might help to bring one hand onto the pelvis at the front and back, and then think about the breastbone pushing back, the breastbone pushing forward. So we're getting a little bit of movement in at the shoulders to open. Separate the shoulder blades as the breastbone goes back, and then bring the shoulder blades together as the breastbone comes forward. Just getting this sense of opening across the upper chest. Forward and back. And then let that settle. And then can we pull the shoulders up to the ears and then drop them down. Pulling the shoulders up, dropping them down. Pulling it up, dropping it down, and up, dropping it down. And then can we come forward with the shoulders, bring them up, pull them back, slide them down. So we're thinking about these shoulder blades as we're coming forward. Shoulder blades are separating. As the shoulders coming up to the ear, shoulder blades sliding up. Then it's coming in towards the spine. Then it's going down towards the waist. So up, back, and round. Up, back, and round. Then in the other direction, round and round. Ooh. And then let the shoulders settle. Let's come up into the neck. So chin drawn in, turning to look over one shoulder. So notice how the neck feels as you look one way, and then slowly through the centre, looking the other way. Through the centre, turning, and through the centre to turn. Coming back into the centre. Then we're going to tilt the skull to the side. So ear coming towards the shoulder, pull the fingers down towards the floor to get this length in the neck. Bringing the head up, taking it over to the other side. So while we're doing this, we're making sure we're breathing to start with. Can we be thinking about exhaling activation from the soles of the feet up through the body, bringing the head up, tilting the head over. Bringing the head up and tilting the head over. Then turn to look down to the shoulder. Bring your chin across the collarbones. Come up at the other side. Go down across the collarbones. And up and down across the collarbones. And then bring the head back into the centre. Give the shoulders another couple of rolls. Now, if you have a Pilates ball, you're going to grab that. If you don't have a Pilates ball, then you could use a pillow or a cushion. We're going to bring it in between the calf muscles. And your feet will be as close together or as wide apart as they need to for whatever you've got in between your ankles here. Can we stand tall through the rest of the body? Arms to the side, shoulder blades drawn back and down, ribs tucked in. On an exhale, can we float up onto the balls of the feet? Can we pause at the top for an inhale? And exhale, can we float back down? While we're lifting and lowering here, trying to keep that ear, shoulder, hip, knee, ankle in line. Your head starts to go forward or your hips go back or forward or your chest does, that's going to knock you off a balance. So if we can keep that line as we float up and as we float back down, and having the ball or pillow in between your legs helps activate more muscles in your legs without you having to think, how do you get your muscles to activate while you're doing this? So we're just creating that tension so that the muscles are already switched on and engaged. Now we're going to see if we can add our arms into the movement. So as we're coming up, imagine that you've got a big heavy ball and you're bringing it up just to shoulder height. And then as you're coming back down, you're pulling down. Imagine you're bursting balloons in the armpits. So we inhale at the bottom, exhale as we come up. Pause to inhale. Exhale, pull it down. Inhale at the bottom. Exhale, come up. Inhale at the top. Exhale, pull down. So really thinking about trying to get these muscles around the shoulders, around the armpit, down the sides of the ribs involved in this movement, because we could have the arms just float up, float down, not really working any muscles here, but if we're imagining we've got this weight, this heaviness, we're going to get these shoulders fired up. As we imagine that we're pulling that down, we're going to get these muscles all down the armpits, down the sides of the ribs involved. Let's go one more here. Now we're going to add on another tiny bit if we can. We're going to bring that up. Then when we're inhaling, can we take the arms out wide? Then as we're exhaling, we're pulling the palms back towards each other and heels coming down. So let's inhale at the bottom, exhale, float up, inhale, take it wide. So imagine this balloon or ball that you're holding is getting bigger. And then you're trying to burst it as you're exhaling, pressing it in and pulling it back down. Exhale up, inhale, open. Exhale, closing in and bringing it down. Let's do that one last time. Exhale up, inhale, open. Exhale, closing it in and pulling it down. Let your ball or cushion release from your ankles. Give your legs a little shake off, give your arms a shake off. And let's take our feet slightly wider. So let's go to about shoulder width apart. And reach one hand up to the ceiling. As you're reaching up to the ceiling, lift your rib up away from the pelvis. Strong through these tripod points. On an exhale, can we start to tilt over? So we're drawing the tummy muscles in to give us some support as we're getting length into this outside waist, working into the lower side waist. Reaching the hand up to the ceiling as you come back to the center, bring the arm down. Reach the other arm up. On an exhale, activate from the feet up through the body as you take that lean over. Range of movement might be different from side to side depending on where you're holding tension, where you have strength. Reach up to the ceiling as you come back. Let that arm come down. Other side, reaching up. Exhale as you come over. So remember that activation. Reach up. Let the arm come down. Other side. Exhale over. Bringing that up and down. So switching sides. So as you're lifting up and taking that lean over, have a wee check that your butt doesn't stick back. I just noticed on one of the sides that happens slightly for me. And if it's happening for you, just a wee engagement of that back side to bring the hips forward last time. Bringing it down and giving that a release off. Let's come to a wall and have yourself standing about an arm's length away from your wall. Weight's going to be into the outside leg, hand onto the hip, tummy muscles drawn in. The leg that's closest to the wall, we're going to push that in. So pinky toe side of your foot, pressing into the wall so that the toes are pointing directly forward. Standing tall through this balancing leg so we're not hanging out in the hip joint. We're going to do one more here. And then we're going to bend the knee and bring the knee up to hip height and then come back down. So up to hip height and back down. So here and down. And here and down. The pelvis is staying nice and steady, tummy muscles drawn in as you bring that leg up. Two more. And then we're going to have the knee bent and you're going to push the sole of the foot out behind and then bring it back. So as you do that, try and not let the upper body push forward or the ribs push forward. So you're pushing back, knees back in line, and back, and knees back in line. Also try not let the pelvis follow back, so keep the hips square to the front. Last two. Last one. Bring that in, give the hips a wiggle. Especially that balancing leg was doing a lot of work. We're going to turn that around, work the other side. So set yourself up, weight into the outside leg, standing tall through that hip. Nice and strong through the tripod points, and then pinky toe side of the foot pushes in towards the wall. So make sure you're not holding your breath. You might want to exhale as you're pushing out. Last one. And then you're bending your knee, bringing it up at the front to about hip height, slightly higher if you can, and back towards the floor. Two more. And then knee bent, pushing out behind. Range of movement might be different on this side, depending on how tight the hip is at the front, how strong your butt muscle is at the back. Keep the upper body nice and tall. Last two. Bring it in, give that a release, give it a shake. Right, we are going to come down to the floor. It's coming onto your back. I'm just going to adjust my camera angles here. Right. So lying on the floor, knees bent. Let the soles of the feet rest into the floor so you've got those tripod points connecting. Pelvis roughly in a neutral position. We don't want to be squeezing the lower back down into the floor, but equally we don't want to be lifting the waist away from the floor. Let the spine be in its natural curve. Have the ribs tucked in, chest open, shoulder blades connected to the floor, back of the neck nice and long, chin not pointing to the ceiling, but slightly pointing down. You might need a pillow in at the back of your head if you find that your chin's floating up towards the ceiling. And let's do a few shoulder bridges here, getting some mobility into the pelvis, into the spine. So check that your feet are in a good position, that when you press down, you can flatten the lower back into the floor. If that's not quite happening, you might need to adjust the positioning of your feet to find the right position for you. And it might be that your practice here is pressing the feet and shoulder blades down, flattening the lower back in, and then just bringing the pelvis off the floor, and then coming all the way back. That might be the right exercise for you today. You might want to come up higher, but if you are coming up higher, tailbone stays tucked, spine stays long. When you get to the top of whichever height you're doing, you're going to pause for an inhale, and as you're exhaling, you're rolling your spine back down. So you're always thinking about trying to create space between the discs of the spine so that we're getting length in the back of the body. If we anchor the feet, anchor the shoulder blades, and think about that tuck and then gentle roll. Really paying attention. If you find that the tailbone starts to drop and the hip bones start to push up, then you're pushing too far for your body today. So you just stop the movement and then roll back down. And as I say, it doesn't matter how high you come. It's all about the form. It's all about maintaining the technique. The more you keep that tailbone tucked under, the more the tummy muscles are going to naturally draw in without you having to think about how you draw the tummy muscles in as you do this. Now, if you want to engage the legs, a little bit more, you could bring your Pilates ball or pillow in between your thighs. That'll help create the activation in the pelvic floor and the legs a little bit more. Might mean that you lift slightly higher in the bridge, but only as high as that tailbone stays tucked. We want to challenge our balance a little bit more. We can bring our arms up so the fingertips are pointing to the ceiling, but we still have the shoulder blades anchored. So smooth with the breath up, smooth with the breath back down. We're going to do 2 more of these if you can. Just really focus on the technique from start to finish and shorten the range if that's what your body needs now. And making this last one as smooth as you can. Once you have come down, if you've got a ball or pillow in between the legs, just pop it down to the side. Have a stretch off in any way that feels nice. Bringing the feet back down. Set your pelvis back into its neutral position. Then we're going to bring one knee away from the floor. Bring your hands onto the shin. Extend the other leg out. So we're going into single leg stretch. We're going to start with the toes actively pointed. As you're exhaling, you're hugging this leg in, trying to not let the pelvis move out of position. So we want to keep the pelvis really still here. As you inhale, switch to the other side. Exhale, hug that knee in, really point the toes, lengthen the leg away. Inhale, release, exhale, switch. Inhale, release, exhale, switch. So just notice your head's position here. So if your chin started to pull up, then drop the chin back down. You want to keep the spine nice and long at the back of the body. If you wanted to stretch the spine more, you could lift your head up to look between the knees. But if you feel any strain in the neck, in the jaw, across the chest, then just keep your head down on the floor. Now we're going to do this one more time to each side, and then we're going to switch from single leg stretch into scissors. So with scissors, we're still doing the same movement, except we're keeping the legs straight. So if you're really tight in at the back of the leg, your knee might have a slight bend in it. What we don't want is the pelvis to rock just to get the leg straight. If your hamstrings feel quite loose, then maybe flex the ankle and push through the heel as you do this exercise. That will stretch out the back of the legs, get the calf getting a stretch. So just notice what your body needs and then have your foot position accordingly. We're going to do this one more time to each side. And then bring the knees down, place the feet down onto the floor. And let's step the feet slightly wider than your hips, so about shoulder width apart. Let's take the arms out wide, anchor the shoulder blades, back of the neck's long. We're going to take an inhale. And as you exhale, roll on the side to the sides of your feet and take the knees over towards the right. Keep your left shoulder anchored into the floor. Then from the feet, pull the knees back through the center and then roll onto the other sides of your feet so that your knees go to the other side. Slow with the movement. Anchor the shoulder blades, draw the waist in, roll through the feet. over onto the sides. So exhale as you're coming over, and maybe inhale as you come back up. Exhale as you go over. Inhale as you come back up. So you can stay with this version of the exercise, or we can bring our arms up. Still anchoring the shoulder blades to the floor. Then as the knees are going to the right, so as you're rolling onto the outside edge of the feet, you can bring your left arm down. Rolling over the soles of the feet, bring that arm up. As the knees go to the left, the right arm can come down. But look for the control. Look for that rolling through the feet. Drawing the waist in so that you're controlling this movement from one side to the other. Now you can keep your feet in this shoulder width space apart, or if you want to load up the waist a little bit more, you can bring the legs together and squeeze the thighs together. And you're still rolling over onto the side of the foot, but let the soles of the feet stay in line with each other. We're still keeping the waist engaged so that we don't go too far and overstretch or cause any pain or injury. Controlling that movement. It's always better to go slightly smaller with this movement than go really big and then risk hurting yourself. I'm going to do this one last time to each side. If your legs are together, make sure you're squeezing the legs together, engage the back side. Draw the waist in. If your feet are shoulder width apart, rolling over the soles of the feet. Still with that waist pulled in. And then when you come back to the center, let the arms come down, give your body whatever movement feels nice. And then bring in the feet back to the floor. Connect the soles of the feet, pelvis in that neutralish position, ribs tucked in, back of the neck long, arms down to the sides of the hips. Now we're going to lift the arms up, anchoring the shoulder blades in, reaching the fingers overhead. Now if your ribs feel like they start to lift up, I want you to engage the tummy muscles, bend your elbows, and then we're going to circle the arms around. Thinking again, like we did earlier, about trying to burst those balloons in the armpits as we're bringing our arms back to the start position. Now, if you don't have the space to take the arms out to the sides, then you take the arms up and over and bring the arms back the way they came. But really anchor the shoulder blades. So you might inhale as you come up and exhale as you circle round. Reach as though you're trying to reach towards the heels. Bringing the arms up and circling those arms round. Bringing the arms up and circling them round. So we can stay with this version of the exercise. Or as you're bringing the arms round, maybe you lift the head up and look between the thighs. And then take the head back as the arms go overhead. Ribs stay tucked in. Exhale, bring the arms round. Option to lift the head up. So pelvis is staying in a neutral position all the time. We're not letting the lower back flatten into the floor. So really reaching towards the heels, whether your head's lifting or not. And one last time. And when you've done that last one, let it rest down. Release the body in any way that feels nice. Now we're going to bring ourselves up and over. We're going to do a little bit of side plank. So options for your side plank here. You can come to your hands and knees, so bringing the upper arm bones into the shoulder sockets and come into side plank from this position, where we will lift the shin as we rotate it out, extend the other leg, and then bring the arm up. Now, if your wrists don't like this or your shoulder doesn't like that height, then you can do this from your forearms with your hips dropped down. You will still lift the leg as you turn it out and open out into the side plank from down in that lower position. If that doesn't appeal, then you can come to standing and do it at the wall. You would stand at the wall, you would turn your feet out and then just walk away and lift the arm up and have a reach. So that just puts a bit less pressure through the wrists. You can always come onto the knuckles if having the palms flat doesn't feel good for you. So set the arms. We're going to lift the shin, rotate the leg out, extend the other leg, reach the arm up towards the ceiling. If that doesn't feel good for your shoulder, you could always bring your hand into your lower back. Check that your hips haven't sagged back, so squeeze the backside forward so that the hip stays over the knee. When you're ready, bring that down, switch to the other side, making sure you always lift and rotate your leg in and out. Don't spin on your kneecap. So engage the backside, draw the tummy muscles in, reach through the fingers. Now it might feel good for you to reach overhead here, so that's going to give you more length through the waist, but only if that feels right for your shoulder. Bringing that in, bringing it down, switching sides. Opening out. Reaching up, squeeze the backside. Maybe reaching overhead if that feels good. Bringing it in, bringing it down, bringing your long leg in and bringing it round. Opening it out. Reaching overhead, backside engaged. Smooth with the breath. Bringing it down, switching sides. This is your last one. The option to reach. Engage, taking the stretch, having that activation. Make sure you're not holding your breath. Bringing it in, bringing it down. If child's pose is a nice place for you to have a rest, take the knees wide, bring the feet together, bring your backside to your heels. Let your forearms come down to the floor. Take a couple of breaths here. And then from here, let's do some Superman. So Superman you can do from a lion position or from your hands and knees or standing at the wall. We're going to be moving opposite arm and leg, lengthening them away from each other. Whichever position you're in, ribs are tucked in, upper arm bones are drawn into the shoulder sockets so that we're activating all these muscles around the shoulders, around the back. Pelvis is in a neutral-ish position, keeping the spine nice and long. Watch the position of your head, so you're never looking down to the floor, but equally you're not looking ahead. You want to keep the back of the neck long and straight. If you're on your hands and knees or lying on the floor, press the shins and the tops of the feet down to the floor. That will take the pressure away from the kneecaps and help you engage the muscles through the legs. If your ankles are tight, pop a pillow or a cushion in underneath those shins. Take a couple of moments just settling into your position, looking for exhale and activation. As you draw the tummy in, you Keeping the breath nice and steady. And then on an exhale, opposite arm and leg, lengthening long. And then slowly bringing that down, reconnect. And then to the other side, lengthening long. Bringing it back in. And changing side. So we're being aware of the pelvis. We're not letting the pelvis twist out. We're not letting the pelvis tilt forward and back. We're trying to keep that really steady. As the arm is lengthening out, you're maybe turning the palm so that you're leading with the thumb as you lift, reaching the fingers forward. You're opening up through the shoulder joint. Every now and again we check in with the breath, that we're not holding our breath. And we'll do that one last time to each side. And then let's go to child's pose again, if that feels like a nice place for you to have a rest. Maybe rocking the hips from side to side. Letting the shoulders relax. And then from here, let's gently roll yourself over onto your back. Coming into your stretches, so we're pointing the toes to one side of the room. Taking the arms overhead, reaching the fingers to the other side. As you're inhaling, can you reach the fingers and toes a little bit further away? And as you're breathing out, can you let the body soften and relax? And then can we press out through the soles of the feet? Can we press out through the palms? Lengthening out, lengthening out, lengthening out. And bending the knees, sliding the feet in. Bring one knee into the chest, then bring the other knee in. Hands onto the shins, you hug that in. And rock the weight from side to side. And then with one hand on each knee, circle the knees around. And then in the other direction. Keep one knee hugged in. Oh, excuse me, it's triggering a wee yawn. Keep one knee hugged in, bring the other foot to the floor, slide the hands into the back of the thigh. Circle your ankle. A few circles one way, then a few circles the other. And then start to take those ankle circles to the ceiling. Just straightening out the back of the leg. I'm looking for that stretch into the back of the leg. And if your leg's quite straight and you're not feeling a stretch, just check, is your pelvis in neutral? And if it's not, can you roll the pelvis into a neutral position so that it's targeting the back of the leg more rather than your backside and lower back? At the top of your stretch, can you point the toe and flex the ankles? Point and flex and point and flex. Just getting that calf muscle involved. And then bring your ankle into a flex position, so pushing through the heel. We're going to bend this knee, ankle onto the opposite, bring the knee out to the side. This might be where you stay. You might bring that bottom foot away from the floor. Again, noticing where you're feeling this, so you might want to keep the pelvis in neutral here. You might feel like you need to stretch a bit further up, in which case you let the lower back flatten to the floor. You might rock the weight from side to side so that you're moving in and out of the stretch. And that's whether you've got that bottom foot up or not. Just depends on what your body's telling you needs the attention and the stretch right now. And gently releasing that down. Hugging the other knee in. And hands into the back of the thigh, circling the ankle. Changing direction every few circles, taking those circles towards the ceiling. And at the top, pointing the toe, flexing the ankle. Again, notice the stretch. Do you want your pelvis in a neutral position here? Does it want to be out of neutral? Depends what's going on this side. And then can we bring that foot into a flex position? Bend this knee, ankle onto the opposite, let the knee move out to the side. And where you take the stretch to here might be different on this side than it was the other. Use your breath as a good gauge. Adding in additional movements where needed. And then releasing that down, taking the arms out wide. Take your feet about shoulder width apart, let the knees go to one side, turn your head away from the knees. And just breathe into your into the available space in your rib cage. So really try and get this internal stretch. Let the body soften as you're exhaling. The hand that you're looking towards, we're going to bend that elbow, pick the arm up, bring it up and over, and then you're either going to go back the way you came or reach around the top of the head to open out wide. And then if that felt good, repeat that another couple of times. And then when you've opened out wide, bring your head back to the center, bring the knees back to the center, take the knees over to the other side, come into that stretch. Breathing into the available space. Then that hand that you're looking towards, bending that elbow, picking the hand up, bringing it up and over. And again, either back the way you came or around the top of the head. And if it feels good, repeat it a couple more times. And then when you've opened back out wide, gently roll yourself over and bring yourself up. We're going to go into cat and cow from here. So cat and cow you can do seated. From here, sending the breastbone back, bringing the breastbone forward, getting that movement into the spine, or on your hands and knees. Bring the upper arm bones in, knees underneath the hips, rounding the spine, tucking the tailbone under, bringing your chin into the chest. Getting that length in the back of the spine. Take an inhale at your end point as you're exhaling, moving through, looking for the length in the front of the spine, lifting the chest, sending the tailbone back, looking straight ahead, dropping the shoulders down towards the waist, taking an inhale at your end point, and exhaling, moving through. So move between these 2 points in your own time. Adding in any other movement that feels good. So sometimes a shoulder roll or a hip wiggle. Just trying to untangle any knots. Shifting the weight towards the knees, towards the hands. Anything at all here that feels good. When you're ready to, bring your spine back into a neutral position. So taking it to side bend, if you're on your hands and knees, walk your hand round, looking back to your feet. If you are sitting, reach your hand up and take a side lean. And then go to the other side. Bring it back to the centre. Come to your knees to go into your hip flexor stretch. So we're going to step one foot forward. Tuck the tailbone under. Get this sense of opening through the front of the hip. So ribs are tucked in here, knee that's on the ground. And that side can reach up. If it feels nice, take a side lean. Bring that back, let that arm float down. Switch to the other side. Tuck the tailbone under. Ribs tucked in. Option to reach up. Option to lean over that front leg. Bring it back to the centre. Taking your hands to either side of your front foot. So two options here. You can either step your back foot in into forward bend and then roll yourself up. Or from here, stepping the front foot back to come into down dog stretch. Whichever feels better for you. If you're in that down dog stretch, walking your feet to your hands or your hands to your feet, whichever feels better. Bringing the feet so that they're hip width apart. Relax the neck, the arm, the shoulders. Just give yourself a couple of breaths there. Just letting yourself hang. We're going to think about strong through those tripod points. Taking an inhale. As you're exhaling, strong through the tripods, through the legs. Draw the tummy muscles in as you restack your spine. Rolling yourself up. Take the arms right up. Reach to the ceiling. As you exhale, bring the arms down. Roll the shoulders out. And hopefully some of the crunches and clicks have released. And that is you done. If you are watching this on the recording and have any questions, please do reach out to me. And you're here.